Was gibt es denn heute?
Es geht um gebissloses Reiten.
Arme Julia, so alt ist sie ja noch gar nicht und Zahnseiden nimmt sie, glaube ich, auch immer.
Ja. Wahrscheinlich als Kind immer schlecht geputzt und jetzt sind alle ausgefallen.
Na, ihr habt es mal wieder lustig. Hört lieber gut zu, bei Jesse kann man was lernen.
Hallo liebe Hypomaniacs, ihr seid auf Trab, dem Podcast für alle Pferdeverrückten mit Julia Kistner und den 3 Welchis. Ja, du hast völlig recht, Tessa. Von dem pferdeverrückten, jungen, talentierten Show-Reiter und Show-Jumper aus den Niederlanden, Jesse Drent, kann man natürlich sehr viel lernen. Vor allem über einen harmonischen Umgang mit seinen Pferden. Jesse ist ein großer Verfechter des gebisslosen Reitens und auch des Halsring-Reitens. Und dass er von Harmonie mit den Pferden nicht nur spricht, sondern es vor allem lebt, hört er nicht nur in dieser Auf Trab Podcast-Folge, sondern erkennt ihr auch gleich auf den ersten Seiten seines Buches Gebisslos Reiten, erschienen im Kosmos Verlag, wo er als allererstes einmal seine Pferde vorstellt, was ich unglaublich nett finde. Ihr nicht auch, Tessa, Velvet, Tänzer? Darauf folgt dann eine Übersicht über gebisslose Zäumungen, deren Wirkungen im Detail, wie der Umstieg überhaupt auf das Reiten ohne Gebiss funktioniert, harmonisch und problemlos, bis hin zum bloßen Halsring-Reiten. Um all das geht es natürlich auch in dieser Auf Trab Podcast-Folge und um den jungen Jesse Drent, der sich dafür einsetzt, dass gebissloses Reiten auch in den Reitbewerben mehr akzeptiert wird, ohne dass Reiten mit Gebiss deshalb verteufelt wird. Es muss eben nur eine harmonische, gewaltfreie Verbindung und Zügel-Hilfe, Betonung auf Hilfe, sein. Aber hört ihr Jesse am besten selbst. Jesse, lucky for us to have you here on the podcast Auf Trab. Thank you for taking your time.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I'm very excited to be talking to you today.
Everybody knows you at least from the book Bitless Riding, also in Germany, Austria and Switzerland. But could you first of all tell us briefly your way to Bitless Riding, where you come from, where you're situated, where's your stable, and why did you pass this way?
Yeah, so I started horse riding when I was 8 years old, and I was very lucky to get my own first pony when I was 12, and she's called Andorra, and I still have her now. She's 30 years old right now, and she's very special to me. But she taught me a lot, so when I started riding her, she was super, super sweet, but then after, I think a year or so, she was kind of saying no to me because I only knew my way of riding from the riding school, and that was kind of it. So at one point she was like, okay, you need to listen to me. So instead of saying no in a normal way, she just started bucking me off because she was like, okay, I've had enough from this boy, I think. So that kind of forced me into looking into another direction. So I'm very grateful for it that it happened. It's not always easy when you have these difficult moments, but I started doing some groundwork, some trick training, and we really found each other again. And then I always liked riding bitless already, but I was also still competition focused, show jumping a lot and stuff like that. And I also did not really want to be put in a box from only bitless riding. But then at one point I started designing my own bridle, and I just really, really loved it so much, and the horses react so well on it. So then I decided to now I actually only ride with the bitless, and I think it's just very nice, and I think it should be way more accepted, way more normal in the future, hopefully, to either ride with a bit or ride bitless. As long as you do it in a normal way, it shouldn't be against each other. So then at the time I was living in more of the east of the Netherlands, closer to Germany actually, and now I live more closer to Amsterdam. But next year I will be moving back to the east of the Netherlands again.
And so you combine nowadays show riding with bitless riding?
Yeah, at the moment, I'm not really competing. I have done it for a very long time that I was competing, doing the shows, also with the bitless riding. In the Netherlands, it's actually really good. I don't know how it's in Germany, but the bitless is allowed quite a lot and more every time. So that's very good. Then I used to have mostly like jumping horses, but I only want to have my own horses now because I don't like when they are being sold. So that's why I only choose to have my own, and I'm not really focused too much on competitions with my horses right now, but maybe in the future future. For now, I just really love doing these shows.
You have written this wonderful practical nonfiction on riding without a bit. What is it all about and why did you write it?
I had a book about trick training already, so groundwork, teaching some exercises and stuff. And I really enjoyed doing that book, and I really loved getting the feedback from the people. So then we were talking, and I was thinking, okay, we can do it about bitless riding as well. Not that there's only one way or that it's only my way, but I couldn't really find a place where you could find all the information about all the bridles, all the information on how to start with a horse that has never been ridden before, or with a horse that has been ridden with a bit for a very long time, because that's, of course, they need to get some guidance into how to make that change and adjustment. So then I was like, okay, I can at least start writing down my experience, my things, my research, ask some other people that know a lot about the bitless riding as well, and put all of that stuff in. And then hopefully help a little bit with making people more aware of how to do it with bitless riding, or how it can help them. And that is not really that much different, because you are riding your horse and you're not riding your bit or your bitless bridle, I'm always saying. So it doesn't really matter. But it's nice to have a bit of guidance and find a lot of information on how to start.
Do you think everybody can ride bitless? What would I know already from riding, and also the horse? How should it be prepared for it?
Yes, I think everybody can ride bitless for sure. Just as with the bit, of course, you need to know what you're doing. Every rider is different. For example, if you have a hackamore, it can be quite intense. So you shouldn't ride with it like how you ride with a side pull, which is just connected to the bridle itself. So you need to have some knowledge, of course. But I think every horse and every rider can definitely do it. The biggest thing, I think, if you're used to a bit, what is a different feeling is that with the bit you feel some movement in the mouth that you can't really feel when you ride without a bit. So that's something you need to really keep in your mind, and like kind of let go yourself with your hands to make sure that the release is there and not just hold on, because it feels just a bit different. But it's definitely for everybody. And sometimes with my lessons, I have horses or people that are quite nervous or stressed, and I'm like, let's see how that's going to go. But then they go sometimes 10 times better than they did with the bit. Yeah, so that's very nice. And for example, Jessica from Bradle, she rides with the bridle as well, yes, which is very, very special. But then you see like everyday riders that just like to ride in the forest, or top level competition horses, they can all do it.
You just talked about different bitless bridles, and I think you like the Lucky Wheel. Why and what's so special on this kind of bit?
Yeah. So I think when I was younger, I saw there were quite some bitless bridles out there. I didn't have lots of experience, of course, then. So I was started in a halter. Then at one point I had like a rope, not a rope halter, but like a bridle made of rope, because it was quite cheap. And it had like a chin crossed kind of thing. That was always stuck. Then I tried some other ones, but the thing with bitless riding, especially then, I think a lot of the bridles were very different than the normal bridles, so that made it also a bigger step for people to change. And I remember that I tried the wheel, because the wheel is something that existed, the Glücksrad from Germany, I think it is. Mm-hmm. And I've always really, really loved that system, because it's super clear when you let go. It's like a quick release. When I ask something just as with the bit. If I let go, the pressure is off. And that's why I just integrated it in the bridle that I also designed. Is that, for example, you have the option with the Glücksrad to have it like a side pull, so it's really only pressure on the nose a little bit. But if you want, you can move it up a little bit more. And it's not like a hackamore that it's like super, super strong. It's just that you spread out the pressure a little bit more to the nose, the chin, and behind the ears. So that works for some horses as well. It's just super clear. The horses are very light on it. I feel like they're very comfortable. And I've just had the horses kind of proved it to me and sold it to me.
And how is the way from riding with a bit to get to bitless? At the beginning, do you have both? Or
yeah, I think it can be done in every way. Also, for example, if you have horses like Antares, my kind of gray, golden looking horse, I started riding him, and then I just rode him, I think maybe 3-4 times in total, because he wasn't I started backing him, and then we had a bit, and then I made the bridle and I put the bitless bridle on, and then after the first 10 minutes were strange for him, but then he was fine, and then we never changed again. Then of course there's horses that have only been ridden with a bit, so you need to give them some time to get used to it. But I usually think you can just put the bitless on. I wouldn't go straight away to ride on like next to the highway if they're not used to it, of course. You take it step by step, and you can first put the bridle on, and you can start on the ground, see if they can understand what you mean by asking with one hand, asking to stop, and these kind of things. And then you can just get on and kind of act like you do normally. Yeah. And they might need some more guidance in the beginning. Some don't, but that's okay. Yeah.
And the horse isn't confused if you ride once with bit and once bitless?
No, I think once you have it settled and you have been clear and you just really ride with the right intentions, then you can definitely change things around. I kind of, now at the moment, I don't do it because I only ride bitless. But when I used to do it with a bit as well, I kind of liked that I felt very different things with the bit. I felt very different things with the bitless bridle, and then taking the bridle off and riding on the neck rope, I felt very different things again. So all this gave me more information. You could work on different kind of tools together, and you could actually improve together even more because, some things you might hide with the bit or might not feel with the bit. And different with the bitless. So that's actually nice to be able to experience both.
You don't have the bit, so do you use more the voice or more the legs or more the tension? Or
when you ride bitless or neck rope?
Both, first bit and then neck rope.
Well, with bitless, I think it's just like, I think a lot of people think it's very different, but in my experience, it is not very different. You have still two reins, they're connected to your horse. And of course, you try to use a lot of your body. I use a lot of voice, which is not always allowed if you do like competitions, which I think it's ridiculous. But you do use a lot of your body. But I think for the rest, it's just the same. It's just about you and your horse understanding each other. Like you ask a question until your horse finds the right answer, and you do more and more, and you get more communication together. So I think with the bitless, it's very similar. With the neck rope, of course, it's a bit different. And what horses tend to do when they don't understand sometimes is they can go against the pressure a bit. Then you just have to explain what you mean, take your time. And what I think is the most important, to really take little steps, really let them know when they're doing well, because they are always trying the best. They're always trying to find the right answer. Even if they don't do the right thing, they are one step closer to finding the right answer. So that is something we really have to keep in mind. Even if it's the opposite, or they don't understand, or they get frustrated, it's still them trying to figure it out. So when you do it with the neck rope, it is a bit different, and the questions are a bit different, but then still it's a lot where you see it and the feeling, and just a question with hopefully the right answer.
So the connection is very important, but how do you get connected? For example, you are also a master of freedom dressage, but how do you explain your horse things?
I'm still trying to figure that out myself sometimes.
Yeah.
No, it's not easy. And I think very important is time. The more time you spend together, the more things you try, even if they go wrong, because they do, which is not a bad thing, then you just kind of figure it out. You take some step back. You do some more things. You get very creative. I always think when things are very difficult, it's very easy for me to say to someone else, but I try to tell it to myself as well, that I say, okay, now you don't like this moment, or you're not happy that you can't figure it out, or that the situation is difficult. But in the end, you learn a lot from it, and you grow a lot closer from it once you do get through it. So that's something to really keep in mind. But with the groundwork, every horse is different, so there's not one method. Some people might have like a method that fully works for them. For me, I just go in there and try to really reward the good things. And what is the most important for me is that I open the horse's mind to be willing to try. So I want them to know, even if they don't understand, they can try. They don't have to be worried not to give the right answer. Because when the horse starts giving to you, he starts trying, then you have things to work with, and you can say, okay, this you tried, but I mean, maybe a little bit more this way, or a bit more in that direction. Mm-hmm. And then you can work from there. And then it gets a lot of fun.
One important thing is, how do you create distance?
With the groundwork, with the liberty work. That's for some horses, it's nice to get more closer, because they might first don't get it and want to walk away. Yeah. And with distance, it's just kind of, you start on the ground, you just have to really keep in mind what is your space. And then you just explain them every time, this is your space. So if you, for example, have a circle around you from like a meter or something, you want to keep that distance. You just, every time they come closer, not when they're already close, but you have to tell them before they cross the line. You just have to keep in mind you are, for example, the mare that is kind of the boss in the herd, and none of the other horses will come even 20 centimeters closer than what she would want. So as long as that's very clear and you're very consistent, then the horses will learn. But you can't just be like, oh, this day, oh, today I don't really mind. Never mind if you step on my toes, but yesterday I was angry, so then I didn't want it. Then they have to keep trying because they don't know. If every day is the same, it will be normal for them.
So you have to be consequent. That's it.
Sure.
And you have already achieved so much. Is there any goal or dream you want to achieve with your horses?
No, thank you. That's very sweet. For me, I just am super, super grateful that I get to do what I am doing now. I would hope to be able to do this for a very long time still. So that's kind of my dream. Recently, I've been going into more the shows with lights and music instead of like the demonstrations and stuff. And I really, really love that. So I would love to learn more about those things and work with different horses and my own, and just go around, travel around and do all these things. And one of my goals is that the bitless riding will be more and more allowed also in competitions and all over the world, that it's much more normal. That will be really, really nice. And to just work on the new products, because I also really enjoy that.
But there's a lot of things going on now that it's more allowed in competition.
Yeah, it's really, really changing, which is very good. And I hope it keeps changing like that. And I remember I had some talks with some organizations, and they were like, but then probably we have to give the people without a bit a higher number. Otherwise, I said, no, you just have to like treat them the same. You're just riding and you're seeing what you see. So it doesn't matter if you have the bit in or not.
So what should riding look like in the future? Completely bitless or brightless?
I think that would be very cool, of course, when it's like bridleless, because to me, my horses feel, knock it on wood, but feel usually the best without a bridle, because they can be very proud. I can't be too much in the way. But I would like is that it's just acceptance and not always looking out of tradition or out of pressure, but just about the harmonious connection kind of thing, and that the horses enjoy it and the riders as well, and that it doesn't really matter as long as you ride in a fair way. So it doesn't have to be one or the other. Of course, you don't want to ride with like a knife or something, but you just want to ride with something that's friendly and then the harmonious. And then if you are able to do it on neck rope, great. If you are able to do it on normal bit, great. Just accept each other and make sure they do it in a nice way.
So what is the no-go in horse riding for you?
I think, which is quite human, but I think when people get frustrated, like you can get frustrated, but you shouldn't act on it, because you can, of course, you need to, like horses need some boundaries or rules or know what you mean. But that is something very different than when you are frustrated and act out of frustration, or when horses are used too much for money, which is the case a lot of the times. It doesn't have to be bad, because it also brings beautiful things. But if then there's too much they have to do, then I don't like that either.
Thank you very much, Jesse. I wish you good luck to bring everybody to bitless riding or bridless riding even. Yeah. Thank you also for your expertise and your time. And I'm really curious for your next book,
thank you.
Riding Without Saddle or whatever.
Yeah. I think we will work on the more like Freiheitsdressur.
Okay.
Kind of book. Yeah, so that will be fun, hopefully. But thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it. And I hope to learn a lot, and for the people to just enjoy the horses and work in a very positive way.
Thank you, Jesse. Have fun.
See you. Bye-bye.
Und wenn euch diese Auf Trab-Folge gefallen hat, ja, dann würden meine Welchis und ich uns über eure Unterstützung unseres Podcast-Projektes freuen, indem ihr Auf Trab auf YouTube, Spotify oder der Podcast-Plattform eurer Wahl liked und am besten den Podcast auch gleich abonniert. So könnt ihr auch keine Folge mehr verpassen. Vor allem aber bleibt auf Trab bis zum nächsten Samstag.